Well, I hope you're ready for this one. We're in for a wild ride. NBC News says mandating vaccines amid a worker shortage could spell trouble for corporate America. It's so hard to find workers now that if you know a certain percentage of your workers are going to quit due to a vaccine mandate, you're not going to disrupt that, said one HR expert. So we're in a labor shortage. We've got 10.1 million job openings, and we don't even have that many people available for work. They've said now the ratio of jobs to people is 0.9, down from 1. It used to be like for every one job we had people who weren't looking for work. Now we have more jobs. I guess you could say it's a good thing. It means like people are like, hey, we're open for business. We need employees. But it's actually a really bad thing.
Yeah,
it means
the
economy won't be able to recover. We don't have the people. Nobody will work. And now that they're doing mask mandates and vaccine mandates at a lot of these businesses, people are going to quit. It's going to get worse.
And also, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to go to work and be dehumanized and dehumanize the people around me. I wouldn't want to do that either, especially, when I could buy a $300 cheeseburger.
That's right. If inflation gets to those levels, then you can have your $300 cheeseburger.
Yeah.
You know what I really love? I made a point where I said, when we had John Schnatter on the show, Papa John, he mentioned in the member segment that he knows a pizzeria where they're paying $35 an hour for people to make pizzas, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, so enjoy your $50 pizza. And then I get all these people being like, Tim, in Sweden, cheeseburgers are still only $5 and they have Sweden is like one of the largest weapons exporters per capita. Don't come to me and talk to me about what's sustaining their economy, okay? I'm not saying that quite literally overnight your pizza is going to cost $50 because they're paying $35 an hour right now. What I'm saying is, sure, at a store with massive volume where they're doing hundreds of cheeseburgers per hour, they can accommodate higher salaries and wages, and they should. Absolutely.
Sure.
McDonald's and Burger King, all these places, they should pay more. They have massive profits. Same is true for Walmart. But when it comes to a small mom and pop pizzeria, if you got to pay someone $35 an hour, how many pizzas are you making per hour? That's a 50% increase in labor costs. Yes, your pizza's going to go from $12 to $14. And then people are like, it's only $2. Who cares? I'm willing to pay that if it means that people are going to have better salaries, right, and better wages.
Health insurance.
And health insurance. I mean,
Sure.
people deserve health insurance. I think the bigger problem is that health insurance shouldn't come from employers.
Right.
We need to find a solution to that. That makes no sense. But the issue ultimately is that it ripples throughout the entire economy. It's not about the one pizza costing $14 for you right now. It's that the guy who can't feed his family because it's too expensive now asks his boss for a raise, and it goes up across the board.
Yeah, it does. Well, that's inflation. That's the problem with it. Yeah.
Well, so this is these mandates. What people don't realize is that people are going to leave cities. They're going to quit their jobs. It's going to make the economies worse in all of our big cities. Maybe.
Yeah, no, it is going to make, I'm not going to go anywhere that requires me to show paperwork in order to enter. I specifically absolutely will not. I'm going to make it impossible for me to do that. I'm going to destroy my vaccine card so that I can't.
People
I can't
people
even
have already
give
lost
in,
theirs. There's something
they ought to. Let's all lose them. There was a video in Italy. They're burning their passes.
Vosh,
as well they should.
Vosh said this on the show, and I thought it was a really good point because I hadn't considered it. He said the problem with vaccine mandates for New York, for instance, that a lot of people already lost their cards.
Yeah.
It was too big. It didn't fit in your wallet. They didn't know what to do with it.
Plus,
and they
nobody
lost
cares.
it.
I got vaccinated, and that's done now.
The other thing, too, is they kept saying they weren't going to do it. So people were like, oh, okay, I guess I don't need this.
Well, the federal government promised. They said it over and over again. You had Jen Psaki in the briefing room being asked this question over and over. Are there going to be federal vaccine passports? And no, we're not going to have a vaccine credential. That we're not going to do that. Absolutely will not. We will work with businesses who intend to do that and make sure that they do that in the appropriate way. There will not be a federal credential. Even if there's not a federal credential, there should be a disallowance of any sort of credential that mandates that. That should just not even be allowed.
What was that meme? I think, who mentioned it? It was like a whole lot of people who, what was it? Oh man, I'm forgetting it. I just forgot it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Okay.
It was like a whole bunch of people who were anti-fascists are now show me your papers.
Yes.
Something like that.
Quick switch from.
Yeah. Last year,
Yeah.
it was oppose the dictator. Now it's show me your papers. Isn't that funny how that works?
The interesting thing too with Trump is when you ask people what were some of his authoritarian fascist policies, they can't actually name any. It was just resist the individual that you really, really think is over the top and obnoxious.
Did you see Ben Shapiro on Bill Maher?
Yeah.
So one of the things that Bill Maher said when he mentions Ben Shapiro's
And I
book.
talked to him last week. I did an interview with Ben Shapiro.
Ben?
It was
Oh, right
interesting,
on.
yeah.
He has the Authoritarian Moment, his new book.
Yeah.
And Bill Maher was like, I thought you were going to talk about Trump. And I'm like, please tell me, Trump, what? We can talk about war and foreign policy because that's what every president's been doing, and I'll agree with you there for sure. But Trump did a whole lot of nothing in a lot of ways.
Yes, that's
He
correct.
didn't shut down the riots. He wagged his finger and said, oh, the radical left, and then didn't do anything.
That's a really good impression.
No, well, whatever. So they call him an authoritarian, and I'm like, for what? Why?
Yeah,
And now
there's nothing to back it up. It's just a word that this is used for someone you don't like. It's the other. It's that other thing.
I guess the one thing I could say is the people who are willing to believe, like, just follow Trump no matter what Trump said. But that wasn't the majority of conservatives. Conservatives, like the Republicans, the people who voted for Trump were more than willing to criticize him, as evidenced by the fact that you actually have this weird independent voters and Republicans are leaning in the same direction right now. Clearly, independents, people who probably vote Libertarian and third party, aren't Republicans, but they all recognize the economy is not good. But for some reason, the Democrats, you want to know what authoritarian is? Authoritarian is when the economy is in flames. Nobody's working, massive job openings. We've got warnings from our mainstream media saying this is going to get worse because of the mandates, and the Democrats being like, I think the economy is going great.
You know,
Fairly good.
I get confused when we say the Democrats. Do you mean the politicians or the people that are registered?
Specifically, I'm referring to a poll which says Democratic voters believe the economy is doing good.
So they're not Democrats.
They are.
Only the politicians are considered Democrats.
No.
The voters are just people. They're not Democrats or Republicans.
So the way the polling works, it asks you which party you're affiliated with.
That's
and they are Democrats.
confusing because when you say the Democratic Party's full of idiots, I think of Congress, and that in a lot of ways I agree with you. But the people that register as Democrats, I don't want to put them in that ballpark.
That's it, but they are.
They're the ones who are doing this voting.
I've registered
Ian,
Democrat for like 20
you-
years. I was
do-
way.
oh, you're a
I was
registered
well
Democrat.
more.
I'm a registered Democrat,
Yeah, you're not
yeah.
a Democrat
Ian,
though. You're registered to vote for that
Ian,
party.
Is
Right.
the economy doing good?
No, it's terrible.
Why is it then that independent voters and Republicans recognize that, but Democratic voters think the economy is doing good?
Because they watch MSNBC, and I think Libby pointed
That's
that out earlier.
what it means
Yes,
when they
watch
say
the Rachel Maddow.
they identify as Democrats. They all believe the same thing. Whatever the authority tells them, they follow. That's authoritarianism.
Lemming mindset.
That's authoritarianism. Strict adherence to what the authority tells you. It's like Michael Brzezinski said. It's her job to tell you what to think, remember?
It's the narrative. I mean, it's that's what everybody is fighting over. In media too, that's what everyone is fighting over. It's like there's like two stories that are being told, and the media is arguing over which story is the accurate story, and people aren't wanting to just put out facts and say this is the thing that happened, this is the thing that this person said.
I don't think the media is doing that. I think
You don't think so? You don't think that the media is like intentionally skewing towards a specific narrative?
they are, but what you said was something more specific. What I'm saying is they're not trying. What the media is doing is they're saying whatever at the time will benefit them politically. That's all they're doing.
They're
not
opportunistic.
They're not talking about making anyone adhere to. Yes. And the problem, the authoritarianism comes from the people who are like, oh, Rachel Maddow said the other day that she doesn't trust vaccines, but today she says she does. So I guess I will too. That's authoritarianism. Rachel Maddow said so. Don Lemon said so. Let's just do whatever they say. Meanwhile, you have regular people who are like, dude, like I voted Republican for the first time. You know, Donald Trump. I voted for Obama before him.
In 2020. Yeah,
I don't want to vote for. I wouldn't vote for Trump again, probably.
you would not vote for
No,
Trump again.
I think DeSantis is the better choice. But to be completely honest, I'd rather have a Dave Smith. Although I recognize the Libertarian Party's weakness in terms of the two-party system of this country. We'll see how things play out. I really, really despise the idea of voting against the Democrats or voting against the Republicans.
Yeah.
But I think DeSantis has done fairly well.
I think he's a pretty interesting guy.
Yeah, so we'll
I
see.
think he has actual ideas, which
If
is
Trump
unusual.
If Trump comes on here and talks about fusion, then I will fully support him. But
Really?
if he keeps doing 20th century technology, I got nothing.
I think Trump has shown us that, look, he may have been the Molotov cocktail in the machine. He may have been the bull in the china shop. We got to oil that, man.
Yeah, you like that ringing.
That ringing. But he made so many mistakes.
Yeah.
He should have fired a ton more people. Yeah. But I think a lot of people saw Trump as just an opportunity for something outside the establishment.
That's disturbing because that leads to authoritarianism. Because
no, it doesn't.
The authoritarian crackback is against that authoritarian mindset of like, I love this guy. He's going to just break it.
I don't know about that.
I mean, because
they're just blindly following him, and so now we're
more
getting
anarchy.
a revolt against it.
I don't think it was blind following of Trump, right? And I was opposed to Trump in 2016. I definitely was not in favor. You know, I went to the Women's March, whatever, stupid. But but I think that what you had at the time when Trump was elected were, you know, half of the population did not see their views or their values reflected in any aspect of American culture or political life. Not in arts, academia, entertainment, anywhere, not in media. So when Trump came along and was like, hey, 75 million people who don't see your values or views reflected anywhere in the country, in literally anything you're capable of subscribing to, I'm over here, I can listen to you, I can give voice to you, right? Like, that's sort of what he was about. He was like a figure that was able to do that. So when he was taken away, right, those people are back to having absolutely no voice, only now they're thoroughly publicly vilified, as opposed to just being vilified, which they were previously.
And Ian, you were describing more so anarchy than authoritarianism. If someone says, I will not adhere to the authority structure, and I will put in place someone who is chaotic and destructive to that system, that is anti-authoritarian. Yeah. A lot of people, as Michael Moore explained, were looking at the human Molotov cocktail, the biggest FU to the machine. They hated the authority. They hate the establishment. So they didn't support Trump. Some people were zealots for Trump, no joke. Mm-hmm. That whatever Trump said would say, they'd be like, yes, and they believe crazy things. But that's a smaller element. Most people were just like, we need something as a wedge in the door. Something that's going to get us off this broken path. Now, for me, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I was like, I don't care about either of those people. And then in 2020, Trump put out his agenda with like school choice on it, the opposition to critical race applied principles, things like that. He said he was actively working to get our troops out of Afghanistan. And I was like, that right there, right? Get the troops home, end this stuff. Okay, I'll vote for that. Plus, Joe Biden's insane, right? That's a terrible idea. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.